Oof, this side of the Warriors. That's a good
There
intro.
you go.
That's a good intro for me talking to you. I actually I had the pleasure of seeing you as you were working on the Duncan piece, and I think on the Kobe piece as well. And fantastic pieces. For the Duncan one, I especially liked the end of it where you were grilling him on why doesn't he care about his legacy. I think was sort of the gist of the questions. And I've heard Popovich say similar things of we don't care what the media says about us, and I'm wondering, do you think that they do care? Do you think that despite their protestations, that Duncan and Popovich do care about their legacies? Because it'd be very odd. It'd just be odd from a human perspective not to.
Yeah, and you had an interesting Twitter conversation yesterday about this that I was following along by the idea of secrecy with the Spurs, and I think it ties into that a little bit, and that's a Pop thing. It's the cliche to bring up the CIA, but it really is part of his training, and he wanted it to be organization-wide. So they don't talk on the record about a lot of stuff. They try to keep it short, and he uses humor expertly to tame the media. If you watch Pop's press conferences, he's got reporters laughing with them, but he's still not giving them anything. I think they definitely care. I talked to Popovich about it, and one of the reasons I think he opened up a bit in the interviews, he said, look, we know Tim doesn't care that much. He cares what other players think of him. Pop said he thought that when it comes time for the Hall of Fame, that would be a real big moment for Tim. But he said, look, we do. We want him to be thought of the way that he should be. So Popovich cares. All the other people around it, Ferry, Buford, Sean Elliott, all those guys really want to see Duncan lionized to a certain extent. But Tim just doesn't play along with it, so it sort of falls on other people to do it for him. But Pop spoke for about 45 minutes, just really lovingly about Tim, and he wants people to know that side of Tim. He just knows that Tim's not going to show it to him.
Why do you think they have that organizational focus on secrecy? Is it that they fear there will be some corrupting influence from media attention and from talking about themselves, or is that they're jealously guarding their secrets like a dragon guards diamonds? Or I don't even know why I came up with that. But yeah, is it one or is it the other or is it both?
Yeah, I didn't even know dragons like diamonds. I think that
They love them.
I think what's happened is there's no reason not to. You're not in a media area where there's any competition for the Spurs. You're in San Antonio, so it's not like you're going to lose fans somewhere else. The team's winning, so you're not trying to draw fans by promoting the team. It's continued to work. So Popovich probably says, well, what's the upside other than some glowing profiles here and there of doing this? There really is no upside. And then if you keep your circle tight, and then those players end up getting jobs other places, they'll want to come back. They'll speak well of San Antonio. So you get a guy like Steven Jackson. He has a hard time everywhere else. And I remember talking to Pop. This was before they got him back. So this was in late February. And he was saying, man, we loved Steven Jackson. He's like, I've been trying to get him back because he loved the way he played. He loved the way he fit in. And I think he really feels like he can tame these guys. And they like playing for him. So what's the point of talking too much? Maybe you burn one of your players. Maybe they get mad. Maybe they go back to the media at you. But if you maintain that sort of silence to it, then it all stays within the team, which is what people always talk about, but rarely actually happens.
Yeah, and what I'm wondering is, do you think that secrecy has hurt their legacies? Do you think that we will view them differently in the future based on the lack of attention they got in the present, and if they perhaps, I don't want to call it blame, but if their actions helped cause that to happen?
So what's come before affecting how we see them in the future?
Well, just has their secrecy perhaps hurt their legacies and how we'll view them going forward? Just because they weren't receiving the attention that, say, Kobe Bryant was in his heyday. So the lack of attention it's very convoluted, but the lack of attention that they got in the present, will that perhaps hurt them in the future in the way we remember them?
Yeah, I think definitely with Duncan, that's what's happening. And unless you get this at the end of a career where people start to suddenly appreciate someone. I think it happened with Reggie Miller a little bit, where at the end of his career, people started to say, wow, he's played his whole career in Indiana. You know, he's had all these great moments. Even though he didn't win a title, we love Reggie Miller. Sometimes that happens. I do think with the Spurs, yeah, Popovich is going to go down as one of the best coaches ever, and Duncan will go down as one of the best players. It's all those other guys that'll be forgotten. You know, you don't remember a lot of the other cogs in that Spurs machine. You're just going to think of Duncan and Pop, Ginobili and Parker and Robinson, and everyone else from this whole 15-year period will be assumed to have been just this, you know, interchangeable role player, because really they were. But that's what happens, is it'll become compressed, I think. Whereas with the Lakers, everyone remembers Rick Fox. You know, everyone remembers these guys who might not even been that important, but since they were on the Lakers and there was such media attention, we're like, oh yeah, you know, Derek Fisher, Rick Fox, you know, we remember them all.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Fox can date anybody on account of playing for the Lakers, apparently. I'm wondering, that the game that you went to, the Warriors versus Spurs game, I had the pleasure of sort of trickling into the locker room, and the Spurs atmosphere was very different from the Warriors, where everybody was just locked in on the game tape, completely silent, just studious. I think perhaps Steven Jackson was talking, but everybody else dead silent. Warriors locker room very different, not studying anything in particular. And I'm wondering, those cogs that you mentioned, who might not get the same attention that the Lakers players do you think it's a fun environment? Do you think that they get something out of playing in that Popovich system, and just filling a role really well and being part of something bigger? Because it didn't seem like a fun atmosphere. Do you think that it's fulfilling for the role players?
I imagine it has to be, right? Because if you look at the way he's helped so many careers, Pop, by putting them into that system. I mean, I was sitting with Mike Malone before the game, and he was talking about guys like Danny Green, who they had in Cleveland. You know, Danny Green was out of the league. You know, Matt Bonner has become this important cog there as well. So I think they appreciate it for that reason. I don't think it's the most enjoyable locker room. I don't think you have the sort of the joking aspect. After that game that we were at, I do remember Steven Jackson having a very loud conversation with Duncan about the movie The Gray, and telling Duncan that it was legit. This was legit, Tim. And they had like a 3 or 4 minute conversation about this while Jackson sprayed right guard all over Boris Diaw, who was to his left, just sort of firing away. So there's that entertainment, I guess.